welcome to the podcast. I officially wanted to welcome you and introduce myself, talk a little bit about the podcast, what to expect, what to look forward to, what are some topics we're going to be hitting, talking about, and diving deeper into. So that's what this episode is about. But first things first, my name is Kim. I am your podcast host for Connected. This is episode 1. And I just kind of want to talk about how this came about, the backstory, how this came to be, and so let's dive on in. Okay, so I never saw myself doing a podcast. Number one, I was talking to my husband about this morning. We had a pretty lengthy conversation and a good conversation. And I was telling him that I feel like people think I'm dumb sometimes. And okay, let me just pause and say, why are you saying, I'm sure people are saying, Kim, what are you talking about? Right? Like, why would you say that about yourself? Well, let me give you a little backstory. So my primary language and my first language that I learned was Spanish. I'm bilingual. And I was in bilingual classes until third grade. My parents decided to put me in an all-English class, which, at home we spoke both languages, but they chose to put me in an all-English class. And I remember Miss Cooper. I loved that teacher. But I struggled so much. And I'm the type that I have to try really hard and focus and give 110 maximum effort into things to excel. I can't be the person that reads something and I get it, I understand it, and I got it down. No. The first time I read it, I'm probably going to forget what I just read. And I will have to read it again, and then I have to write down what I read, and I have to do little notes. And that's how I, process things and stuff. But anyways, going back, that year was pretty tough. And I was talking to my husband this morning about this. I think because I struggled so much with words and, people, after that in elementary school and junior high, I mean, obviously I got better with time and with the years and hearing people talk, and I learned. But people, kids are mean, and kids made fun of me on how I said things. For example, this is a pretty common one in our culture, and if Spanish is your primary language, like pizza, it's pizza, not pizza. And oh my God, people would make or kids would make so much fun of me for that. So we were talking about that, and I think it all stems back to that from what I can remember, where I'm not intellectual with my words. Am I making sense? The best thing that I can compare myself to is my husband. My husband is very intellectually smart, with his thinking, his the way he processes things, and his wording. He's very, very smart, and I can't be that. Sorry, I can't be that. I could try, of course, but I'm the type that I am thinking 2,700 different things and have, 50 something tabs open in my brain. But when I am trying to explain and talk about that, it doesn't come out the way that I want. So I have to slow down and I stutter or else I'll stutter. So that's another thing. I'll stutter when I'm trying to explain, or I'll pause because I'm thinking so fast and I can't verbalize and my thinking and my thoughts. I have to think about it for days and then I come up with the right wording. That's why I'm not really good at comebacks, because I'm not sharp with that. So all that to say that when I got this idea, I'm like, me? No. Who is going to want to listen to me when I can't even verbalize my thoughts correctly, or, just say things properly and intellectually? But this was all for a reason. When I first got that thought, I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, I do listen to podcasts. At the very beginning, when podcasts became a thing, I hated the idea. I'm like, I'd rather watch a video. I'm very visual. I'd rather watch a video like YouTube, like if I'm eating, or if I'm, a lot of people can relate. I see a bunch of TikToks about this. When I'm eating, I have to watch something. I have to hear something, a video playing, because then I can come back and see what they're doing or whatever. Same way when I'm working, I have to have background noise. So I wasn't a fan of podcasts or audiobooks or anything like that. Eventually, now I am. So I was like, no, me do a podcast. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. With time, though, quickly after that, actually, I was like, okay, I'm going to start a podcast. And I prayed about it. And I'm like, you know what, God, is this from you? Is this something that is going to be in your glory and something that you will use? Because obviously I have many ideas and I'm very artistic and creative, and I'm always thinking about different things creatively and artistically. And I'm like, you know what? Like I was praying about it because I already don't feel confident in the way that I talk. Okay. So I prayed about it. And I was like, okay, God, just give me a sign. Like, give me a sign that this is something that you want me to do. Granted, this entire time, I just have this pull, which we'll get to talk about. But I have this pull from God, the Holy Spirit, to do this podcast. I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is something that I really want, because it's never crossed my mind, but now I really want to do it. Or is this something that you want me to do, God? I don't know. So I started, doing all my research about podcast and doing my research on how to start. I have no idea. It's something so foreign to me because I'm not in this world. So I started doing all my research. I start watching videos and articles and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe I could do it. Maybe I can. So then I started looking at the equipment, because that's another thing. Like, equipment's expensive. Setup, lighting, that all goes into play. Which, by the way, the more I'm a person that likes to upgrade things, and I like to have it visually, pleasing, and I want to make it as fun as possible for the viewers, because that's what I look for as a viewer or a consumer. So just know that every episode you may see something new, or, just something new or upgraded. But anyways, back to the story. Um, I started looking at the equipment. There's so much equipment. I'm like, I don't know these brands. I'm not familiar with these. So I have been researching for weeks at this point. This was at the end of last year, very close during the holidays, I think. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. You know, I'm self employed and I have other expenses. I have so much overhead. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can afford it. But then I changed to, okay, well, that's fine. Now I know a number. So I'll just save and get things little by little. That's how I that's how I planned it in my head. So when I had prayed about it, I was at home one day and I was scrolling through TikTok, and out of nowhere, I hadn't searched this on my TikTok yet, on the podcast, and Christian podcast and stuff like that. I hadn't searched that. So it wouldn't have been on my For You page, but I don't know. You know, uh, your phone listens to you. So maybe it was that. I really don't think so though, because I mean, maybe it could have been, but I think it was all God. Okay. So I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling. I had prayed about it. It was on my heart. I'm like, I don't know if I should announce this or whatever. So I'm scrolling and I had prayed about this podcast, and my For You page is like makeup, nails, stuff like that. And the next one that I slide up on, immediately the guy on the video says, if you're thinking about starting that Christian podcast, do it. I couldn't have gotten a clearer message that day to start this podcast. I literally, my jaw dropped because I felt it. I felt that. And I stared at my phone and I was like, okay, God, I heard you loud and clear. So from then I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I know I'm going to do this. Fast forward. I was, okay, this is a number of the equipment, right, that I need to spend. Okay, we'll do it little by little. Well, I was so worried about the cost of it, and I had prayed about it. Tell me why in the next few days, someone gifts me more than enough to cover the expense of the equipment. Out of nowhere, gifts it to me and says, Merry Christmas. This is from my heart. And I literally cried. I was flabbergasted at first, and I just shocked. Because when someone gives you that amount of number, you're like, there's no, please take it back. And that's what I told her. I'm like, please, like, I need to give it back. And I chased her actually. And I'm gonna write a letter to her, explaining how this is all so connected and literally from God. And I just was so in shock that day. I called my husband. I cried. And I was like, okay, God. He provided that for me. So I used it and I bought the equipment, and now we're here. And It's scary, obviously, starting something new. Um, but it's also exciting, you know? And, I had told you, well, I'm scared to talk. I talk all day. Like my job, I do nails and I'm a cosmetologist and I do makeup and waxing and all the girly things. Well, I, I've always been like terrified of public speaking, which I know this is different and this is more of a content creating thing, which is more my realm. But I'm always so insecure about how I talk, um, because I feel like that my words don't connect to my brain and my knowledge here. So that was already one thing. Obviously, this is the start of the podcast and how I started saying that. But another thing is I was just, afraid to start. I kept pushing it off. I had recorded an announcement video and I had it on my phone. I had it edited and I'm like, I don't know. I can't upload it. Maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I don't know. So I had all these like things and all these excuses until finally I posted it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to post it. I'm just going to post it. I literally posted it. I put my iPad down. I was like, okay, I'm just nervous. I have had the most support and the most excitement from those around me and that know me and my husband and are excited and constantly ask like, hey, when is it going to release? Or, and which is an exciting thing. Like they are excited and just seeing that response, I know that this was all God. This podcast is called Connected. And I struggled with the name at the beginning. I didn't know until I was like, okay, it's connected. I feel it. Because initially I was going to name it something else, but I changed it to Connected. And it's about being connected to God, being connected and having that relationship with Him. And it's Christian based. This is going to be Christian based. But then it also tags and ties into other areas in your life. Being connected with your spouse. I'm married. I'm very happily married. I love my husband. He is a gift from God. He was handpicked by God for me. And I will touch on that more on another episode. But it's also being connected in your relationship, in your marriage. Being connected with, your family, other relationships like your sister, your brother, being connected with friendships, being connected with people in whatever area that is. Like I had mentioned earlier, I'm a cosmetologist. So I started my business almost 3 years ago. I've been licensed for 10 years now, but I started my full-blown business about 3 years ago. And I connect with so many people and I love that. I love the community. I love the connection that you build with your clients. And I have always just loved people. I would pray and pray to have God's heart for His people. We're all so very different. We all bring different things to the table. We all come from different backgrounds. We all grew up differently. We come from different cultures. We, we've had all these different experiences, but then, if you are alone or feel alone in this certain aspect in your life, you can connect with another person that has a similar story and then you don't feel alone. Like things like that. So it's all about being connected. And it may sound cheesy and corny, but that is what this podcast is about. So I am very excited. I was on a plane, and I was still contemplating recording my first episode, but here we are. Here we are. Thank the Lord. Um, and I said, you know what? Okay. I was on that flight and I could have been sleeping because I literally sleep in every single flight. I can fall asleep, drop of the hat. I can fall asleep standing up, honestly. Um, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this time. And I said, okay, God, I am going to get my notes section on my phone. And I'm going to write these topics. I'm a pen and paper girl. Excuse me. But I didn't have a pen and paper, and I used that excuse too. I was like, well, I don't have a pen and paper. Nope. I said, you know what? I'm done with this. Okay, God, I'm going to write these topics. And I wrote all the topics, and I got all those ideas, brainstormed, and I'm just so excited. I've shown a couple people the topics that are close to me, and they are very excited. I know that you are going to feel connected in some way or another with at least a few or maybe even one. And, hopefully, I'm praying that for even one. Because we are going to do some hard hitting topics here. Um, and you'll see. You'll see what I mean. Um, we're going to be very open here. Very open. Honestly, I'm going to call myself out a lot. Like, I am not going to lie. I'm going to call myself out a lot. But why? I want you, anybody out there that has experienced or has felt or has been anyway, I want you to know that you're not alone. And this is the purpose of this, that I am just a vessel. This platform is just to be used as a vessel by God to connect you to Him in one way or another. And I pray and I hope and I know that it could be whatever episode or whatever, part or sentence of an episode that hits you and you feel empowered, you feel God's love and God speaking to you, in anything that we talk about. And know that you are not alone. You are worthy. You are loved by God. And He has got you. And all He wants is for you to be connected to Him. And that's all it is about, truly. It's not about religion. Christianity, and it's not about religion. It's about you having that connection with God, that relationship. And it's how a marriage is. It's how relationships are. You connect with each other. It's a relationship, and that's what it is about. So, now I'm telling you a little bit about that. We'll be hitting on traumas, which is probably going to be a lengthy one. I'm not going to lie. Traumas, marriages, marriage in general, all kinds of relationships, what's happening in the world right now. I'm not talking about politics. I mean, other things, but you will see a lot of interesting things, a lot of things that me and my husband will talk about, when we come together at the end of the day after a work day, after a busy day, and we talk about these things. And ever since I had that pull to start this podcast, I would get more ideas and ideas of just our conversations that we would sit at on the kitchen counter. Like, wow, people need to listen to this. People need to hear this. So there's so many things, so many things. My creative mind is going, and I have all these ideas written down, and I am just so excited for you to be a part of it and for you to be a listener and a viewer. So either on Apple or wherever we will stream this, or a viewer on YouTube. I am very excited about that. I will have guest, so it's not just going to be me. Today you just have me because this is a little introduction and a little backstory, and but it's not going to be me. Sometimes it will be me. So the way right now, starting out, we're going to have the schedule is every other podcast is going to be a guest. My husband is going to be on majority of the guest, but we will have other kinds of guests. And then you'll have me and a guest, me and then a guest. So I'm excited. I'm so excited to just chill and talk to you guys, connect with you in one way or another. That's, yeah. So I think that is all that I have to say, other than, okay, so we talked a little bit about the topics. We talked about, okay, so I mentioned that I'm a cosmetologist and that's what I do. So the episodes are going to be bi-weekly. So twice a month we will release them. And then once I get my groove in it and I feel like, okay, I could do once a week, then we will do once a week. For now, it's going to be every other week. Since I am self-employed and I have my own business, you know, balancing that out and finding a rhythm. And then if you guys want to see more and you guys vote and love us that much, then, I am completely open to do it once a week. So all in God's hands, and we will see. But there's a lot in store here, and I'm just letting God take the wheel because I can't not listen. Another thing that me and my husband talked about this morning, which really it really stuck with me. I listened to this video, and I think it was a TikTok. He was Christian, and I don't remember the topic that he was talking about. Maybe it was about a podcast maybe it was that same guy that I saw in that video about starting that podcast. But he said, your disobedience may be blocking or could block someone's blessing. Okay? I have that stuck in me and has stuck with me. I don't want to be disobedient to God's voice and his pull because I don't want to block any other blessings to other people. And that person that gifted me that amount of money, out of the kindness of their hearts, I fully believe that, and I feel that, because when I heard that, I immediately connected it to her. If she didn't obey that pull to do that and gift me that, she would have blocked that blessing for me to start this sooner. And it's not about me. I think this is all God. It's all God. Because I was already like, I'm not doing this until I can afford it. But God provided. Another example, my husband, which I could talk about him all day, okay? And you will hear me talk about him all day because I am obsessed with the man. My husband has been the greatest gift to me, really. And God shows me how much He loves me through my husband. And I know that my husband loves me as well. But if he didn't obey God and die to himself daily, because the man reads his Bible every day, studies, he is exceptional at that. And he does all these things and all these studies and will literally die to himself because we'll get into this, okay? I'll give you a snippet. I'm the reactive one in the relationship. I have this little anger built up in me. And once I feel offended or defensive, I respond and I'm angry. And that's fleshly. So if he didn't obey God's voice on how to work with me and how to deal with these things biblically and correctly, he would block the blessing of me growing and getting closer to God. Honest and truly. And we'll just go deeper that episode. But that stuck with me, and this podcast it's just all led by God. So, yeah, I can't wait to talk more. We'll be also talking about business. And that's what I was saying earlier, or trying to get there. I own my business and everything. It's going to be 3 years, but I also want to touch on fun stuff like that. Business owners, entrepreneurs, self-employed people, and we'll have a guest for that, and that's going to be interesting. And so you could see it from our side, as opposed to you as the client or whatever. And then we'll also talk about fitness and working out and health, and that's going to be a good one too. So there's going to be like little mini series of episodes, so stay tuned. If you have any other suggestions, the more you listen to the episodes, please comment, please subscribe, and just stay tuned. Bi-weekly. Again, I am your podcast host, Kim, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. This is Connected. Bye, guys.